What if I told you a 40-year-old mystery cloaked in darkness and whispers has finally been solved? Picture this, a cold case, frozen in time, suddenly thawed by an unexpected clue, unraveling secrets buried for decades. Dawn Olanick, a name once whispered with fear and curiosity, now resonates loudly in a tale of justice served. Stay with me until the end as we journey through the twists, turns, and shocking revelations of how one of the most perplexing cold cases was finally cracked wide open. You won't believe how it all unfolded. The night Dawn Olanick disappeared was shrouded in an almost tangible darkness, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. It was a chilly evening in late October when the air was crisp and the leaves rustled like whispers in the wind. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the quiet neighborhood streets. Dawn, just 16 years old, was last seen walking home from a friend's house, her path illuminated only by sporadic streetlights flickering in the distance. Her absence was first noticed when she didn't arrive home as expected. Panic set in as her family realized something was terribly wrong. The initial investigation began almost immediately. Police officers combed the area, flashlights piercing the dense shadows, but there were no immediate clues. The small community was gripped by a collective fear as search parties scoured the nearby woods and abandoned buildings. Every step taken, every call echoing her name, only deepened the sense of dread. Rumors started to swirl, each more chilling than the last, and the once tranquil town was soon engulfed in a sinister mystery. The second practice involves understanding who Dawn Olanick was. Dawn was more than a name on a missing persons report. To those who knew her, she was a vibrant and kind-hearted young woman. Born and raised in a small, close-knit town, Dawn was known for her infectious smile and gentle nature. She was a high school junior with a bright future ahead, excelling in her studies and actively participating in various extracurricular activities. Friends described her as someone who lit up any room she entered, always ready to lend a helping hand. Her passion for the arts was evident in her love for painting and drawing, often spending hours lost in her creative world. Dawn's family was her heart and soul. She shared a special bond with her younger brother, often helping him with homework and playing games together. Her parents, supportive and loving, encouraged her dreams and ambitions. On the day she disappeared, Dawn had spent the afternoon with her best friend, planning their upcoming Halloween costumes and chatting about the latest school events. As she left her friend's house, she was in high spirits, looking forward to the weekend. Little did anyone know that evening would mark the beginning of a decades-long nightmare. The seemingly ordinary moments of her last known activities became a haunting memory for everyone who knew her. Her disappearance shattered the sense of safety within the community, leaving an unfillable void in the hearts of her loved ones. Dawn's story is a poignant reminder of how a single night can change everything, transforming a lively, promising life into a cold case file. The initial response from the police was swift but laden with uncertainty. Officers quickly mobilized search teams, scouring the local area with a sense of urgency that mirrored the community's growing panic. Flashlights pierced through the dense night, sweeping across every hidden corner and shadowy expanse, but the immediate clues were frustratingly absent. As hours turned into days, the community's anxiety escalated. Families locked their doors, children were kept indoors, and whispers of the horror that might have befallen Dawn filled the air. The small town, once a haven of tranquility, was now enveloped in a collective fear that suffocated its residents. The media soon caught wind of Dawn's mysterious disappearance, and reporters swarmed the town, their cameras capturing the tear-streaked faces of her family and the anguished expressions of her friends. Local news stations broadcasted continuous updates, and Dawn's image was plastered on every screen, turning her name into a statewide plea for help. Flyers bearing Dawn's photograph and a desperate call for information were distributed, pinned on bulletin boards and handed out in nearby towns. The story captivated the public's imagination, transforming Dawn's disappearance into a chilling communal obsession. People from neighboring areas volunteered in droves, joining search parties and offering any assistance they could. Despite their efforts, every lead seemed to lead to a dead end. The police were methodical, interviewing friends, family, and anyone who might have crossed paths with Dawn on that fateful night. Yet, the more questions they asked, the fewer answers they seemed to find. The media coverage intensified, with journalists speculating about potential suspects and theories that ranged from the plausible to the fantastical. As the case grew colder, the once relentless tides of media attention began to ebb, leaving behind a community still haunted by uncertainty. The public reaction was a mix of hope and helplessness. For Dawn's family, the spotlight was both a beacon of hope and a source of relentless agony, as they clung to the possibility of finding her while grappling with the invasive glare of the media. The townspeople, united in their grief and fear, held vigils and prayer meetings, their faces lit by candles that flickered in solidarity and sorrow. The initial fervor gradually gave way to a somber resignation as the weeks turned into months and the months into years. Yet the memory of Dawn Olanick never faded, her story etched into the collective conscience of the community, a dark chapter that refused to close. The second practice involves diving deeper into the early investigation and the suspects and leads that were initially pursued. Despite the relentless efforts of the search teams, the early days of the investigation were marked by frustration and dead ends. The police, driven by the urgency of the situation, began with those closest to Dawn. Her immediate family and friends were interviewed extensively, their lives placed under a microscope in a bid to uncover any hidden relationships or potential motives that could explain her sudden disappearance. Each interview peeled back layers of Dawn's life, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. As the investigation expanded, the police considered anyone who had been in contact with Dawn during her final hours. Suspicion fell on her best friend and the friend's family, the last people to see her alive. While these leads created initial ripples of intrigue, they were quickly dismissed due to lack of evidence. Next, the police turned their attention to the broader community. They scoured through Dawn's school, focusing on students and staff who may have had grievances or unnerving interactions with her. Yet again, the trail ran cold. The investigation took on a more sinister tone when a few townsfolk reported seeing a suspicious figure lurking around the area where Dawn was last seen. Described as an unfamiliar man in his early 40s, his presence was both chilling and mysterious. Sketches were drawn and a manhunt ensued, but this lead too dwindled into nothingness. Another suspect emerged, a local handyman with a checkered past, known for his erratic behavior and run-ins with the law. His abrupt disappearance after Dawn's case opened only fueled suspicions. However, when he was eventually found in a different state, his alibi was solid and he was exonerated. Media speculation added another layer to the mystery, with theories ranging wildly from cult activity to serial abductions. Each new theory brought fresh hope and a renewed push in the investigation, yet none provided the breakthrough needed. Intriguingly, the police received several anonymous tips, some claiming first-hand knowledge of Dawn's fate. These tips, while initially promising, often led to dead ends or were revealed as cruel hoaxes. One tipster indicated that Dawn's disappearance might be linked to a neighboring town's unsolved cases, prompting cross-jurisdictional cooperation. But despite exhaustive efforts, no tangible connections were found. As months turned into years, the leads grew sparse and the list of suspects narrowed. Investigators were haunted by the eerie parallels between Dawn's case and other unresolved mysteries. Each potential lead seemed to open more questions than answers, adding layers to an already complex puzzle. The early investigation was a tumultuous mix of hope, despair, and relentless pursuit, leaving behind a trail of intrigue and unanswered questions, setting the stage for the eventual breakthrough that would come decades later. The main detectives working on Dawn Olanick's case were seasoned veterans who had seen their fair share of mysteries, but this case proved to be among the most challenging of their careers. Leading the charge was Detective Michael Reynolds, a methodical and dedicated investigator known for his tenacity. Alongside him was Detective Laura Grayson, who had a keen intuition and an unparalleled ability to connect dots that others might overlook. Together, they formed a formidable team. Detective Reynolds approached the case with a relentless determination, sifting through every piece of evidence and re-examining witness statements. He knew that time was both an enemy and an ally in cold cases, and he was committed to finding the truth no matter how long it took. Detective Grayson, on the other hand, brought a unique perspective to the investigation. Her empathetic approach often led to breakthroughs, as witnesses felt comfortable sharing details they might have otherwise withheld. One of the most notable breakthroughs came when Detective Reynolds decided to revisit the forensic evidence with fresh eyes. Advances in DNA technology had come a long way since the initial investigation, and he believed that retesting old samples could yield new insights. This decision proved pivotal. After months of painstaking analysis, a match was found. The DNA linked to an individual who had been previously overlooked, a man with a criminal record who had left the town shortly after Dawn's disappearance. Detective Grayson then took the lead in tracking down this new suspect. Her tenacity led her across multiple states, piecing together the suspect's movements and building a timeline that placed him in the vicinity of Dawn's last known location. This breakthrough reignited the investigation, bringing a renewed sense of hope to everyone involved. However, the challenges were far from over. As the detectives dug deeper, they faced numerous obstacles. Witnesses' memories had faded over time, and some key individuals were no longer alive. Additionally, the suspect vehemently denied any involvement, and his alibi, although shaky, added a layer of complexity to the case. The detectives had to navigate through a web of lies and half-truths, often feeling like they were taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Despite these hurdles, Detective Reynolds and Detective Grayson remained undeterred. They meticulously built their case, corroborating evidence and working tirelessly to ensure that no stone was left unturned. Their unwavering efforts eventually paid off when they discovered a crucial piece of evidence that had been overlooked in the initial investigation, a piece of fabric found near the site where Dawn was last seen. This fabric matched a shirt known to have been worn by the suspect around the time of her disappearance. With this newfound evidence, the detectives were able to secure a warrant and arrest the suspect. The case that had haunted the community for decades was finally on the verge of being solved, thanks to the relentless dedication of Detective Reynolds and Detective Grayson. Their journey was a testament to the power of perseverance and the pursuit of justice, no matter how long it takes. The theories that emerged over the years ranged from plausible explanations to wild conspiracies, each adding a unique layer to the mystery. Some speculated that Dawn had been abducted by someone she knew, perhaps a neighbor or an acquaintance who had been secretly obsessed with her. This theory gained traction when a few witnesses reported seeing a familiar car near the area where Dawn was last seen. Another common theory was the involvement of a serial predator. Nearby towns had reported similar disappearances, leading investigators to consider the possibility of a serial abductor operating in the region. This theory was fueled by the pattern of young women vanishing under mysterious circumstances, yet without concrete evidence, it remained speculative. More outlandish theories suggested that Dawn had run away to start a new life, possibly even with the help of an underground network. This idea captivated the public imagination, with some believing that she had been sighted in different parts of the country over the years. However, the pain and emptiness felt by her family made this theory particularly hard to reconcile with the reality they knew. One of the more controversial theories involved a supposed cover-up by local authorities. Some believed that someone with influence had a hand in Dawn's disappearance and that the investigation was deliberately mishandled to protect the culprit. This conspiracy theory was rooted in the small-town dynamics where power and secrets often intertwined. A more exotic theory linked Dawn's case to paranormal activities. Some locals claimed to have seen strange lights and heard eerie sounds around the time she vanished, suggesting she had fallen victim to otherworldly forces. While this was mostly dismissed as folklore, it added a supernatural layer to the narrative that intrigued many. The media played a significant role in both amplifying and distorting these theories. As new pieces of information surfaced, reporters pieced together speculative narratives that often blurred the line between fact and fiction. This media frenzy kept Dawn's story alive, but also created a labyrinth of theories that made the truth harder to discern. Each theory, no matter how credible or far-fetched, kept the case in the public eye, ensuring that Dawn Olanick's name was never forgotten. The theories served as both a beacon of hope and a source of frustration, as each one seemed to hold a potential key to solving the mystery, yet none provided the definitive answer. The first decade of Dawn Olanick's case was marked by a series of major developments and devastating dead ends that often left investigators and the community oscillating between hope and despair. One of the earliest major developments occurred about 6 months into the investigation. A potential witness came forward, claiming to have seen a young woman matching Dawn's description getting into a car with an older man on the night she disappeared. This lead initially sparked renewed vigor in the investigation, as the police scoured vehicle registrations and interviewed countless individuals fitting the man's description. Despite the exhaustive efforts, this promising lead eventually dissipated into nothingness as the witness's reliability came into question, and no matching vehicle or man was ever conclusively identified. The case saw its first significant advancement when new forensic techniques were applied to the evidence collected. About 3 years after Dawn vanished, advances in forensic science allowed for more sophisticated analysis of the minute fibers and trace elements found at the scene. Investigators were particularly hopeful when a piece of fabric discovered near where Dawn was last seen was matched to a rare type of cloth. This led to an extensive search for any clothing manufacturers and retailers that sold such fabric. Teams were dispatched to follow up on every potential source, but despite initial optimism, this line of inquiry ultimately proved fruitless, as no definitive link to Dawn or a potential suspect could be established. Another pivotal moment came 5 years into the case when a man already serving time for an unrelated crime contacted authorities, claiming to have information about Dawn's disappearance. Known for his involvement in several local burglaries, this man's tip was treated with cautious optimism. He provided detailed descriptions of an alleged secondary location where he believed Dawn could have been taken. Search teams were mobilized, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed they might finally be on the brink of a breakthrough. However, after extensive searches, the site yielded no evidence, and the man's motives for contacting the police later appeared to be an attempt to negotiate a reduced sentence, leaving investigators back at square one. The most heart-wrenching dead end came around the 8th anniversary of Dawn's disappearance, when her family received an anonymous letter claiming to know her whereabouts. The letter contained specific details about Dawn's life that were not public knowledge, which gave it an air of credibility. Authorities tracked the letter's origin, leading them to a remote cabin in a nearby state. The operation was meticulously planned, with hopes running high. However, upon arrival, the cabin turned out to be abandoned and had been vacated for several years. The letter was ultimately deemed to be another cruel hoax, adding to the emotional toll on Dawn's family and the investigative team. Throughout this tumultuous first decade, there were periodic surges in public interest and media attention, each time renewing the push for new information. Despite the numerous dead ends, the case saw some procedural advancements. A more organized system for tracking leads was implemented, and inter-agency cooperation was enhanced, allowing for more comprehensive sharing of information across jurisdictions. These developments, while not producing immediate results, laid the groundwork for future breakthroughs. The tireless efforts of law enforcement, combined with the community's unwavering support, ensured that Dawn Olanick's case remained open and active even as the years passed. The first decade was a harrowing journey marked by fleeting moments of hope and crushing disappointments, but it also built the foundation for the eventual resolution of the mystery that had haunted a small town for far too long. The significant advancements in forensic technology played an instrumental role in breathing new life into Dawn Olanick's cold case. The evolution of forensic science over the decades contributed to breakthroughs that were unimaginable at the time of her disappearance. One of the most impactful advancements was the development of DNA profiling. While the initial investigation had limited tools at its disposal, the rise of sophisticated DNA analysis methods in the late 20th and early 21st centuries offered new avenues for uncovering the truth. As new techniques emerged, cold case units began revisiting old evidence, including samples collected from the scene of Dawn's disappearance. This decision marked a pivotal turning point. Law enforcement revisited the evidence box that had been sealed for years, containing fibers, hair samples, and other trace evidence that had been meticulously preserved. Each item was subjected to the latest DNA testing techniques, capable of extracting genetic material from even the most degraded samples. These advancements allowed forensic scientists to amplify minute quantities of DNA, providing profiles that could be compared against criminal databases. One of the game-changing moments came when a previously untested hair sample from the scene was analyzed using mitochondrial DNA sequencing. This method enabled the comparison of genetic material passed down through maternal lines, leading to the identification of familial connections. The analysis pointed investigators towards potential relatives, which significantly narrowed down the pool of suspects. Additionally, the advent of forensic genealogy further amplified the investigation's scope. By cross-referencing DNA profiles with publicly available genealogical databases, detectives could construct family trees that pinpointed potential suspects who shared genetic markers with the collected evidence. This revolutionary approach provided leads that traditional methods might never have uncovered. Another innovative advancement was the utilization of forensic palynology, the study of pollen and spores. Traces of unique pollen found on Dawn's clothing were analyzed, revealing specific plants native to an area not initially considered during the search efforts. This led to a new search zone, providing critical insights into potential locations linked to her abduction. The introduction of advanced forensic imaging technology also proved invaluable. Enhanced imaging techniques allowed for a more detailed examination of old photographs, identifying previously unnoticed details in the background of crime scene images. These details guided investigators to re-examine certain locations and objects, uncovering new pieces of evidence that had been overlooked. Advances in forensic toxicology also contributed to the investigation's progress. The ability to detect trace amounts of substances in biological samples provided a clearer picture of Dawn's final moments. Emerging technologies enabled scientists to identify substances that could suggest a struggle or incapacitation, offering crucial context to the circumstances of her disappearance. The influence of forensic odontology cannot be overlooked. Improved dental analysis techniques facilitated the identification of unknown remains discovered during the investigation. Dental records, once limited to manual comparison, became digitized and could be cross-referenced quickly and accurately, ruling out potential links to other missing persons cases and focusing the search on Dawn. These technological advancements were not just tools but catalysts that transformed the nature of the investigation. The cold case detectives, armed with cutting-edge forensic science, meticulously pieced together fragments of evidence that had remained dormant for decades. The determination to leverage every available resource showcased the relentless pursuit of justice for Dawn Olanick. As the breakthroughs accumulated, they provided a mosaic of details that pointed investigators in the right direction. The convergence of DNA technology, forensic genealogy, palynology, advanced imaging, and toxicology ultimately built a compelling case that brought long overdue answers to a community haunted by uncertainty. The cold case status cast a long, dark shadow over the lives of Dawn Olanick's family and friends, leaving wounds that time struggled to heal. For her family, the uncertainty was a daily torment. Dawn's parents lived with a profound sense of loss and helplessness, grappling with the absence of closure. Her mother found solace in keeping Dawn's room exactly as it was, a shrine to her daughter's memory, while her father threw himself into every search effort, hoping against hope to find a trace of her. Her younger brother, who had been so close to her, grew up without the joy and laughter she once brought into his life, the void of her absence shaping his childhood and beyond. Dawn's disappearance also deeply impacted her friends. The tight-knit group she belonged to was never quite the same. They lived with the haunting memory of their last moments with her, often questioning if there was something they missed or could have done differently. Social gatherings that once brimmed with youthful energy now carried an undercurrent of sadness, each milestone tinged with what-ifs and the painful realization that Dawn was not there to share in their lives' significant moments. Many of her friends went on to pursue careers in criminal justice or social work, driven by a desire to prevent others from experiencing similar heartache. The community as a whole felt the strain of the unsolved mystery. Once a peaceful enclave, the town became a place where fear and suspicion lingered. Parents kept a tighter grip on their children, and neighbors who once enjoyed open camaraderie grew more guarded. The collective memory of Dawn's case served as a somber reminder of their vulnerability, overshadowing everyday life with the chilling possibility that such a tragedy could happen again. Over the years, anniversaries of her disappearance were marked by vigils and memorials where the community gathered to honor Dawn and keep her memory alive. These events provided comfort, yet also reopened emotional wounds, a bittersweet blend of solidarity and sorrow. The family spearheaded awareness campaigns for missing persons, turning their personal tragedy into a force for change, advocating for better resources and support systems for families enduring similar nightmares. Emotionally, the cold case status left scars that never fully healed. Dawn's mother often spoke of the sleepless nights, haunted by dreams of her daughter and the agonizing silence when she awoke. Her father's once jovial disposition took on a more somber tone, the weight of unfulfilled promises to find Dawn casting a perpetual shadow over his life. Her brother grew up with a protective shield around his heart, wary of forming attachments that could so easily be shattered. Despite the years that passed, Dawn's family never gave up hope. Her mother often mentioned how she still felt her daughter's presence, a whisper of a connection that defied the finality of death. Her father maintained a private journal where he documented every piece of information about the case, believing that one day the puzzle would be completed. The lingering hope was a double-edged sword, providing the strength to keep fighting but also perpetuating the torment of what if. The community's empathy and support, though unwavering, could only do so much to alleviate the enduring pain. The absence of closure left an unfillable void, a lingering question mark that kept Dawn's loved ones trapped in a cycle of grief and hope. Yet, through it all, they remained united by the love they had for Dawn and the unwavering determination to one day bring her justice. The cold case status was not just an unsolved mystery. It was a living, breathing entity that impacted every aspect of their lives, a constant reminder of a vibrant young woman whose story deserved an ending. The major clue that reignited interest in Dawn Olanick's case after so many years was discovered purely by chance. It all started with the renovation of an old house in the outskirts of the town, a property that had been abandoned for decades. During the demolition of the basement, construction workers uncovered a hidden compartment behind a crumbling wall. Inside, they found a weathered old box, dusty and sealed, almost as if it had been intentionally concealed from the world. The contents of this box would turn out to be the key that investigators had been searching for all these years. The box contained several items, including an old journal, a few trinkets, and most importantly, a piece of fabric that matched the description of the shirt Dawn was last seen wearing. This discovery immediately caught the attention of local authorities, who quickly secured the site and began an intensive examination of the newfound evidence. The shirt fragment was sent to a forensic lab for DNA analysis, utilizing the most advanced techniques available. The results were nothing short of astonishing. DNA extracted from the fabric matched Dawn's genetic profile, confirming that the shirt piece was indeed hers, but that wasn't all. The box also held a collection of photographs, some of which showed Dawn in the days leading up to her disappearance. One particular photo stood out. It showed Dawn with a man who had never been identified during the initial investigation. This man, who appeared in several of the pictures, was always in close proximity to Dawn, often in the background but always present. As investigators dug deeper, they realized that the man bore a striking resemblance to the sketch of the suspicious figure reported by townsfolk around the time of Dawn's disappearance. The journal, although partially damaged, contained entries that hinted at a secret relationship and meetings that Dawn had kept hidden from her family and friends. The name mentioned in those entries now became the focal point of the investigation. Detectives cross-referenced this name with historical records, leading them to a man who had left town around the time Dawn vanished. This individual's past surfaced a string of criminal activities, including stalking and harassment, making him a prime suspect. The renewed interest in the case sparked a media frenzy, with headlines declaring a potential breakthrough in the long unsolved mystery. The community, which had long held onto the hope of uncovering the truth, rallied behind the investigation. Public appeals for more information and witnesses brought forward new leads as the once dormant case roared back to life. The newfound clue provided a tangible link to the past and a much-needed starting point for the cold case detectives. With state-of-the-art forensic techniques and a reinvigorated commitment to solving the mystery, investigators felt closer than ever to bringing closure to Dawn Olanick's family and the community that had been haunted by her disappearance for decades. The reinvestigation process began with renewed vigor and determination, spearheaded by a specialized cold case unit that was formed to tackle Dawn Olanick's unresolved disappearance. This team included some of the brightest minds in forensic science, investigative research, and criminal profiling. Among them were Detective Michael Reynolds and Detective Laura Grayson, who had remained dedicated to Dawn's case through the years. Joining them were new experts, including forensic analyst Dr. Emily Carter, a pioneer in DNA analysis, and profiler agent Mark Thompson from the FBI, known for his success in solving complex cases. Together, they combined their expertise to approach the case with fresh eyes and cutting-edge technology. The first step in the reinvestigation was to re-evaluate all the physical evidence collected during the initial investigation. Advances in forensic technology allowed for the re-examination of evidence with unprecedented precision. Dr. Emily Carter led a team in applying advanced DNA sequencing techniques to samples that had been preserved for decades. One of the breakthroughs came from the previously untested hair sample, which yielded a partial DNA profile. This profile was run through national databases, leading to a match that provided a critical lead. Meanwhile, Agent Mark Thompson utilized geographic profiling to analyze the locations connected to Dawn's disappearance. By inputting data points such as sightings, the discovery of the hidden compartment, and the newly uncovered photographs, Thompson created a detailed map that highlighted patterns and potential hotspots. This approach revealed overlooked areas that warranted further investigation, focusing the team's efforts on specific locations. in parallel, digital forensics played a key role. Detective Laura Grayson, known for her intuitive approach, worked closely with cyber forensic experts to examine old digital records, such as phone logs and any social media activity. They discovered inconsistencies in the initial investigation's timeline, identifying gaps that could now be explored with modern data retrieval techniques. Old phone records, once thought incomplete, were now analyzed with sophisticated algorithms, uncovering previously missed calls and connections. The team also delved into forensic genealogy. By comparing the partial DNA profile with public genealogical databases, they constructed family trees and identified potential relatives of the suspect. This innovative method narrowed down the list of potential suspects and brought new individuals into the spotlight for questioning. Additionally, the newfound photographs were digitally enhanced. Advanced imaging software brought out hidden details, revealing landmarks and faces that were previously blurry. One particular enhancement showed a distinctive tattoo on the suspect's wrist, a crucial identifier that was previously unnoticed. Interviewing witnesses afresh was another cornerstone of the reinvestigation. Detective Michael Reynolds and Agent Mark Thompson revisited key individuals, including those who had initially been ruled out. With the passage of time, some witnesses felt more comfortable sharing details they had withheld before. Furthermore, the Cold Case Unit launched a public appeal through modern media channels, which brought forward new witnesses who had moved away or had grown up since the time of Dawn's disappearance. The team also employed forensic anthropology to re-examine skeletal remains found over the years in the region. Using the latest techniques, they ruled out several sets of remains previously considered possible matches, clearing the path for more focused inquiries. As the pieces of the puzzle began to align, one of the most significant breakthroughs came from the anonymous tips received during the renewed public interest. Several tips pinpointed sightings of the suspect, corroborated by the data analysis from phone and credit card records. This led the team to cross-reference lifestyle patterns and ultimately track the suspect to a remote location where they executed a search warrant. Combining their exhaustive efforts, the Cold Case Unit finally pieced together the events leading to Dawn's disappearance. Their meticulous re-investigation, using a blend of old-fashioned detective work and the latest in forensic science, brought long-awaited answers to a community that had been searching for the truth for decades. The second practice involves understanding the breakthroughs that led to identifying a suspect in Dawn Olanick's case. One of the most critical moments was the re-examination of the recently discovered photos, particularly the one showing Dawn with a mysterious man. This image, previously overlooked, now became a focal point. Enhanced digital analysis revealed distinctive features of the man and a unique tattoo on his wrist. The detectives ran this image through a database, matching it to older police records, and narrowed down potential suspects with similar markings. Another breakthrough came from the DNA analysis of the hair sample found in Dawn's room, which had been preserved for decades. Advanced sequencing technologies not available during the initial investigation provided a partial DNA profile. This profile was cross-referenced with national databases and genealogical records, leading to a significant match that identified a family line, narrowing the search to a specific individual with a history of criminal behavior. Around the same time, the team received an intriguing anonymous tip. The tip indicated that the man seen with Dawn had a peculiar habit of visiting certain isolated spots, known only to a few locals. Cross-referencing this information with the geographic profiling data provided by Agent Mark Thompson revealed a pattern. These spots matched the areas highlighted in the geographic analysis, pointing investigators to a likely suspect's hideouts and routines. The team also scrutinized the journal found in the hidden box. Detective Grayson, with her empathetic insight, identified coded language and hidden messages within the entries that hinted at secret meetings. These entries contained names and dates that, when cross-referenced with known movements of individuals at the time, created a compelling timeline implicating the suspect. The re-examination of phone and credit card records by digital forensics experts uncovered a sequence of transactions and calls made around the time of Dawn's disappearance, linking the suspect to the crime scene. This evidence, combined with the photographs and DNA, painted a damning picture. Simultaneously, forensic palynology revealed traces of rare pollen on Dawn's clothing, leading the team to a remote and previously unsearched location. This discovery was critical as it directly linked the suspect to an area where Dawn was likely taken. As investigators converged on this location, they found more physical evidence that further confirmed the suspect's involvement. Each breakthrough, meticulously pieced together, formed a coherent narrative. The DNA profile, the photographs, the journal entries, the geographic patterns, and the forensic analysis all pointed to one individual. The cold case detectives had finally identified a suspect. This revelation not only brought a sense of justice, but also validated the tireless efforts of everyone involved. As the team prepared to make an arrest, the suspense was palpable. The community, long haunted by the mystery, held its collective breath. For Dawn's family and friends, the identification of the suspect was a bittersweet moment, bringing them one step closer to closure. The suspect revealed in Dawn Olanick's case was a man named Richard Hale. Richard was a former resident of the town who had left shortly after Dawn's disappearance. His name had been mentioned in whispers and rumors over the years, but was never taken seriously due to a lack of concrete evidence. Richard's past was marked by a series of petty crimes and escalating misdemeanors, but what truly shocked everyone was his deep connection to Dawn's family. Richard was once a close family friend, someone they trusted implicitly. He had known Dawn since she was a child, often visiting their home and even attending family gatherings. This relationship made his betrayal all the more horrifying. Richard Hale had worked as a handyman around town, which allowed him access to many homes and intimate knowledge of the community's routines. Despite his friendly demeanor, he harbored a sinister obsession with Dawn that he carefully concealed. His journals, found in the hidden box, revealed his disturbing fixation and detailed plans to isolate and abduct her. The most shocking element was how meticulously he had planned her disappearance. Richard had stalked Dawn for months, noting her daily routines and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The journal entries outlined his twisted sense of control and possession over her, portraying a man deeply disturbed and capable of extreme measures. What added another layer of horror was the revelation that Richard had manipulated those around him to create alibis and cover his tracks, including forging relationships with other families to divert suspicion. Richard's criminal record, while not widely known at the time, included charges of harassment and suspected involvement in other disappearances, making him a prime suspect in multiple cases beyond Dawn's. His departure from the town coincided with the height of the investigation, a calculated move to evade detection. The discovery of his involvement shattered the community's sense of trust and security. Dawn's family, who had welcomed him into their lives, were devastated by the revelation. The town, too, grappled with the knowledge that someone they had known and trusted was capable of such a heinous act. Richard Hale's background painted the picture of a man who skillfully masked his true nature behind a facade of normalcy, a predator hiding in plain sight. This unmasking of Richard Hale was a pivotal moment in the investigation, bringing to light the depth of his deception and the chilling reality that Dawn's abductor was someone she once knew and trusted. It was a sobering reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind familiar faces, forever altering the community's perception of safety and trust. The suspect, Richard Hale, had a profile that on the surface seemed unremarkable, yet beneath lay a deeply troubling history. Born and raised in the same small town as Dawn Olanick, Richard was known to many as a reliable handyman, often hired for odd jobs around the community. However, his seemingly benign exterior concealed a pattern of escalating criminal behavior that painted a far more sinister picture. Richard's criminal history began with minor infractions during his teenage years. Petty theft and vandalism were frequent charges that appeared on his juvenile record. As he grew older, these misdemeanors evolved into more serious offenses. He had multiple arrests for burglary, often targeting homes during times when he knew the owners would be absent. His intimate knowledge of the town and its residents made him adept at avoiding detection, a skill that would later play a crucial role in his more heinous activities. One of the most alarming aspects of Richard's past was his documented history of harassment and stalking. Several women had filed restraining orders against him, citing his intrusive and obsessive behavior. Despite these legal actions, Richard managed to evade severe punishment, often due to a lack of concrete evidence. This pattern of behavior suggested a predatory mindset that sought control and power over his victims, traits that would become pivotal in understanding his motives regarding Dawn Olanick. Richard's motives for abducting Dawn appeared to be rooted in a twisted sense of possession and obsession. The journals found in the hidden box revealed his unhealthy infatuation with her, dating back to when she was a child. He wrote about her in disturbingly affectionate terms, detailing his plans to isolate her from her family and friends. His writings suggested that he viewed Dawn not as a person, but as an object to be owned and controlled. This dehumanizing perspective was central to his calculated plan to abduct her. The possible motives behind Richard's actions were multifaceted. On one hand, his obsession with Dawn indicated a desire to possess her exclusively, driven by his inability to form normal, healthy relationships. On the other hand, his history of criminal behavior and psychological instability suggested deeper issues at play. Richard's need for control and dominance, coupled with his ability to manipulate those around him, pointed to a profound psychological imbalance. His meticulous planning and execution of Dawn's abduction demonstrated a chilling level of premeditation and cunning. Additionally, Richard's actions might have been fueled by a deep-seated resentment and jealousy. He likely harbored feelings of inadequacy, seeing Dawn's bright future and close-knit family as a stark contrast to his own troubled life. His criminal history indicated a pattern of lashing out at those he envied or perceived as better off than himself. By abducting Dawn, he might have believed he was exerting power over a world he felt alienated from. As the investigation delved deeper into Richard's life, more disturbing details emerged about his interactions with other community members. It became apparent that he had a knack for ingratiating himself with families, gaining their trust, and then exploiting that trust for his own dark purposes. This manipulative behavior extended beyond Dawn's family, revealing a broader pattern of deceit and control. The discovery of Richard Hale's true nature was a devastating blow to the community. It shattered the illusion of safety and trust that so many had taken for granted. The revelation that someone so familiar could harbor such dark intentions left a scar that would take years to heal. For Dawn's family, the betrayal was almost too much to bear, knowing that the man responsible for their unimaginable pain was someone they had once considered a friend. Richard Hale's profile, criminal history, and motives painted a chilling portrait of a man driven by obsession, manipulation, and a desire for control. His actions were not those of a random predator, but of someone who had meticulously planned and executed a horrific crime, forever altering the lives of those he touched. The arrest of Richard Hale sent shockwaves through the community, setting off a whirlwind of media attention and public reaction. News broke early on a brisk morning, the headlines blazing across television screens and social media feeds. Suspect arrested in 40-year-old cold case. Almost immediately, reporters flocked to the small town, their cameras capturing every moment of this pivotal development. The intensity of the media coverage brought a renewed sense of urgency and attention to Dawn Olanick's case, which had remained a haunting mystery for so many years. As authorities escorted Richard Hale into custody, the crowd gathered outside the police station erupted into a mix of astonished gasps and subdued whispers. Many locals couldn't believe that the man they had known as a harmless handyman was now the key suspect in one of the town's darkest chapters. The initial media frenzy was relentless, with journalists vying for statements and exclusive interviews. News trucks lined the streets, and the once quiet town turned into a bustling hub of activity as the world watched the dramatic turn of events unfold. Public reaction was swift and intense. Social media lit up with comments and discussions as people shared their shock and disbelief. Many expressed relief that a suspect had finally been apprehended, while others grappled with the unsettling reality that Richard Hale had lived among them for so long without raising suspicion. Community forums buzzed with a mix of outrage and sorrow as residents processed the news and its implications. The prevailing sentiment was one of collective relief intertwined with a deep sense of betrayal. Amidst the media frenzy, statements from Dawn's family struck a poignant chord. Her mother, with tears streaming down her face, stood before a throng of microphones and reporters. Today marks a significant step towards justice for Dawn. She began, her voice resolute yet tinged with the weight of years of unrelenting sorrow. We have waited decades for answers, and while this arrest brings us hope, it also reopens wounds that never fully healed. Her words resonated deeply, capturing the complex emotions that many in the community shared. Dawn's father, holding back his own tears, spoke next. "We never stopped believing that we would find out what happened to our daughter. We want to thank the detectives, the community, and everyone who never gave up on Dawn. This is not the end, but it is a crucial step towards closure." His statement reflected the family's enduring hope and determination, while acknowledging the continued journey towards healing and justice. The reaction from Dawn's friends was equally heartfelt. Many of them gathered to show their support for the family, their faces reflecting the mix of pain and relief. One close friend, visibly emotional, addressed the crowd. "Dawn was like a sister to me, and not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about her. This arrest gives us hope that her story will finally have the ending she deserves." Their collective presence underscored the indelible impact Dawn's disappearance had on those who knew and loved her. As the media coverage continued, expert analysts were brought in to discuss the case. Criminal profilers and forensic specialists dissected the developments, explaining the significance of the evidence that led to Richard Hale's arrest. These discussions provided the public with a deeper understanding of the meticulous work involved in solving such a long-standing mystery. Interviews with the detectives who had tirelessly worked on the case revealed the dedication and perseverance that had finally paid off. In the days following the arrest, the community held a vigil to honor Dawn's memory and express solidarity with her family. Candles flickered in the evening breeze, their light symbolizing hope and unity. Prayers were said, and stories about Dawn's vibrant spirit and kind heart were shared, reinforcing the collective resolve to see justice served. The outpouring of support was a testament to the lasting impact Dawn had on her town and the unwavering determination to keep her memory alive. The initial media frenzy also prompted renewed interest in other cold cases, bringing attention to the importance of continued efforts in solving unsolved mysteries. Advocacy groups for missing persons saw a surge in support and engagement, as the public recognized the critical role they play in seeking justice for families still waiting for answers. Richard Hale's arrest was a watershed moment, not just for Dawn Olanick's family, but for the entire community. It marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where the quest for truth and justice could finally move forward. The public reaction, fueled by media coverage and heartfelt statements from those closest to Dawn, highlighted the profound impact of her case and the collective desire for resolution and healing. The trial of Richard Hale was a highly anticipated event that drew significant media attention and captivated the public. Courtrooms filled to capacity as people gathered to witness the proceedings that would potentially bring closure to a case that had haunted the community for decades. The trial began with opening statements that set the stage for a gripping and emotional legal battle. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Karen Mitchell, laid out a compelling case against Richard Hale. Her opening statement detailed the decades-long investigation, piecing together the evidence that painted a chilling portrait of Hale as a calculated and manipulative predator. Mitchell emphasized the significance of the newly discovered DNA evidence, the incriminating photographs, and the journal entries, which together formed a damning narrative of Hale's obsession with Dawn Olanick. One of the key testimonies came from Detective Michael Reynolds, who recounted the meticulous re-examination of the evidence that led to Hale's arrest. Reynolds' testimony was both methodical and emotional, highlighting the tireless efforts of law enforcement to bring justice to Dawn and her family. His accounts of revisiting old evidence with new forensic technologies provided a clear and convincing argument for the jury. Detective Laura Grayson also took the stand, offering her unique perspective on the investigation. Grayson's ability to connect with witnesses and her empathetic approach played a crucial role in uncovering hidden details. Her testimony focused on the psychological aspects of the case, explaining how Hale's behavior fit the profile of a predator who had spent years meticulously planning his crime. The prosecution's case was bolstered by the testimony of Dr. Emily Carter, the forensic analyst who had conducted the DNA tests. Carter explained the advanced techniques used to extract and analyze the genetic material, making it clear that the DNA found on the fabric matched Dawn's profile with an almost irrefutable certainty. Her scientific explanations were presented in a way that the jury could easily understand, reinforcing the strength of the forensic evidence. One of the most dramatic moments in the trial occurred when the prosecution introduced the journal entries written by Richard Hale. Transcribed and projected onto a screen for the court to see, the entries revealed Hale's disturbing thoughts and his detailed plans to abduct Dawn. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecution read aloud passages that described Hale's twisted sense of possession and control over Dawn, eliciting gasps and murmurs from the audience. The defense, led by attorney James Peterson, attempted to undermine the prosecution's case by challenging the integrity of the evidence and the reliability of witness testimonies. Peterson's strategy included suggesting that the DNA evidence could have been contaminated or that the photographs were not conclusive. However, the consistent and methodical presentation of the evidence by the prosecution made these arguments less convincing. A particularly intense moment arose when Richard Hale himself took the stand. His testimony was filled with denials and attempts to portray himself as a victim of wrongful accusation. He claimed that the journal entries were fictional and that the DNA evidence was a result of mishandling. Throughout his testimony, Hale tried to project an image of innocence, but his demeanor and inconsistencies in his statements only served to strengthen the prosecution's case. The emotional weight of the trial was most palpable during the testimonies of Dawn Olanick's family and friends. Her mother's tearful recounting of the day Dawn disappeared and the years of anguish that followed left a profound impact on the jury. Her father spoke of the unrelenting hope and the personal toll the investigation had taken on their family. These heartfelt testimonies underscored the human cost of the crime and the urgent need for justice. The prosecution's closing arguments synthesized all the evidence, urging the jury to consider the overwhelming proof of Hale's guilt. District Attorney Karen Mitchell passionately argued that the combination of DNA evidence, journal entries, photographs, and witness testimonies left no room for doubt. She reminded the jury of the community's pain and the importance of holding Hale accountable. In contrast, the defense's closing arguments attempted to sow seeds of doubt, questioning the reliability of the evidence and the motivations of the investigators. However, the thoroughness of the prosecution's case made it difficult for these arguments to gain traction. After days of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. Richard Hale was found guilty on multiple counts, including kidnapping and murder. The announcement of the verdict brought a wave of emotional reactions throughout the courtroom: tears, sighs of relief, and somber reflections. For Dawn's family, the verdict was a bittersweet conclusion to their long and painful journey, bringing a sense of justice but also a reminder of the irreplaceable loss they had endured. The trial of Richard Hale was more than just a legal proceeding. It was a pivotal moment of reckoning for a community that had been haunted by an unsolved mystery for 4 decades. The key testimonies and dramatic moments in court not only secured a guilty verdict, but also provided a measure of closure for Dawn Olanick's family, friends, and the broader community. The forensic evidence that was pivotal in solving Dawn Olanick's cold case was like a jigsaw puzzle, with each piece meticulously fitting together to reveal the truth. The DNA analysis played a crucial role, particularly the re-examination of the hair sample found in Dawn's room. This hair, preserved for decades, was subjected to advanced sequencing technologies that were unavailable during the initial investigation. The forensic team extracted a partial DNA profile, which was then cross-referenced with national databases and genealogical records. This led to the identification of a familial line, eventually narrowing down to a specific individual with a history of suspicious behavior. Another significant piece of forensic evidence came from the fabric found in the hidden compartment of the old house. When this fabric was analyzed, the forensic scientists were able to extract Dawn's DNA from it, confirming it was a piece of the shirt she wore on the night she disappeared. But the forensic investigation didn't stop there. The fabric also contained trace evidence, including unique pollen particles. Forensic palynology revealed that this pollen was native to a specific area not initially considered during the original search efforts. This newfound information directed the detectives to a new search zone, providing vital clues about potential locations linked to her abduction. The analysis of photographs discovered in the hidden box added another layer to the forensic breakthrough. Advanced digital imaging techniques enabled the enhancement of these old photos, bringing out details that had previously gone unnoticed. One particular photo showed a distinctive tattoo on the wrist of a man seen with Dawn. This image was run through police databases and matched older records, helping to identify Richard Hale as the main suspect. The journal entries found in the hidden compartment also contained microscopic fibers. Forensic experts used state-of-the-art equipment to analyze these fibers, matching them to items found in Richard Hale's possession. This connection between the fibers in the journal and Hale's belongings provided physical evidence linking him to the crime. Forensic anthropology further contributed to the case. Skeletal remains found in the area over the years were re-examined using advanced techniques, ruling out other potential matches and focusing the investigation more narrowly. This process of elimination was crucial in maintaining the integrity of the search. Moreover, forensic toxicology revealed traces of specific substances in biological samples collected from the fabric. These substances suggested that Dawn may have been incapacitated, offering critical context to the circumstances of her abduction. This information was instrumental in understanding the sequence of events on the night she disappeared. Each piece of forensic evidence, whether it was DNA profiling, palynology, digital imaging, fiber analysis, or toxicology, worked in concert to build a compelling and comprehensive case. The convergence of these advanced forensic methods not only pointed directly to Richard Hale, but also painted a vivid picture of what happened to Dawn Olanick. This integration of cutting-edge science and meticulous detective work ultimately cracked the case wide open, bringing much-needed answers to Dawn's family and the community. The verdict and sentencing marked the climactic conclusion to a case that had gripped the community for decades. As the courtroom waited in tense silence, the jury foreperson stood and delivered the verdict. Richard Hale was found guilty on all charges, including kidnapping, murder, and obstruction of justice. The announcement was met with a collective gasp, followed by a wave of relief that swept through the room. Dawn Olanick's family held each other tightly, tears of both sorrow and justice streaming down their faces. The verdict was a powerful moment of accountability, one that was long overdue. Richard Hale's reaction was one of stony silence. As the reality of the verdict set in, his expression remained largely emotionless, a stark contrast to the palpable emotions that filled the courtroom. He maintained his composure, a final attempt to project an image of control that had already been shattered by the overwhelming evidence against him. His defense attorney, James Peterson, stood by his side, also notably subdued. The defense had fought hard to introduce doubt, but the meticulous work of the prosecution had left little room for ambiguity. When given the opportunity to speak before sentencing, Richard Hale finally broke his silence. His statement was a mix of denial and defiance. "I maintain my innocence," he began, his voice steady but lacking the conviction that might sway any heart. "I have been wrongly accused and convicted. The evidence against me is circumstantial at best, and I am a victim of a flawed justice system." His words rang hollow, especially in light of the mountain of forensic and testimonial evidence that had led to his conviction. His statement did little to evoke sympathy from those present, many of whom had seen through his facade long ago. The sentencing phase followed, with District Attorney Karen Mitchell pressing for the maximum penalty. "Richard Hale's actions have caused unimaginable pain and suffering," she argued passionately. "He not only took the life of a young woman with a bright future, but has also inflicted lasting scars on her family and this entire community. For these heinous crimes, he must face the full measure of justice." Her words echoed the sentiments of many in the courtroom, who nodded in agreement, their expressions resolute. The judge, in his final remarks, addressed the gravity of the case and the lasting impact on the community. "The crimes committed by Richard Hale are among the most egregious this court has ever seen," he stated solemnly. His premeditated actions and subsequent efforts to conceal his involvement demonstrate a complete lack of remorse and a profound danger to society. In light of the overwhelming evidence and the severity of his actions, it is the court's duty to ensure that justice is served. The judge sentenced Richard Hale to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The severity of the sentence reflected the magnitude of his crimes and the court's determination to prevent him from ever harming another individual. As the sentence was pronounced, Dawn Olanick's family wept openly, their long journey through grief and uncertainty finally finding a measure of closure. The courtroom's tension eased into a solemn sense of finality, as the community began to process the end of a chapter that had cast a long shadow over their lives. Outside the courthouse, reporters captured the reactions of those who had followed the case closely. Statements from legal experts underscored the significance of the verdict and the role of forensic advancements in securing the conviction. Interviews with Dawn's family conveyed a mix of relief and continuing sorrow, their words reflecting both gratitude for the support they received and the enduring pain of their loss. Richard Hale's sentencing was not just a legal conclusion, but a moment of collective healing. The community's resilience and the tireless efforts of investigators and legal professionals had finally brought a semblance of justice to Dawn Olanick's memory. While the emotional scars would take time to heal, the verdict and sentencing offered a pivotal step towards closure, ensuring that Dawn's legacy would be one of justice served and a reminder of the community's strength in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The impact of solving the case on Dawn's family was profound and multifaceted. For years, they had lived in a state of suspended grief, haunted by the unanswered questions surrounding Dawn's disappearance. The resolution of the case brought a bittersweet sense of closure. Dawn's mother, who had kept her room exactly as it was, now found herself at a crossroads between holding on to those memories and moving forward. Her father's unflagging hope had finally been validated, but it came with the heavy realization of the truth they had sought for so long. Dawn's younger brother, who had grown up with the void of her absence, now had the answers that had eluded them, allowing him to process his grief more fully. The family, united in their love for Dawn, drew strength from the truth even as it reopened old wounds. they found solace in the fact that justice had been served and that Dawn's story had not been forgotten. The community, too, felt a profound sense of relief and healing. For decades, Dawn's case had cast a long shadow, a constant reminder of vulnerability and loss. The resolution of the case brought a renewed sense of safety and trust. Neighbors who had once grown guarded now felt a collective sense of togetherness, their mutual support and shared relief helping to rebuild the sense of community. Parents who had held their children closer began to relax their vigilance, comforted by the knowledge that the predator who had haunted their town was no longer a threat. The broader impact extended beyond the immediate community. The case had drawn national attention, highlighting the importance of cold case investigations and the advancements in forensic science that made solving such cases possible. Advocacy groups for missing persons saw an increase in support and awareness, as Dawn's case underscored the need for continued efforts to bring closure to families who still waited for answers. The resolution also served as a poignant reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Dawn's family, friends, and community had endured decades of uncertainty and pain, yet they had never given up hope. Their perseverance, combined with the dedication of law enforcement and forensic experts, had ultimately led to justice. This story of tenacity and unwavering hope resonated deeply, inspiring others who faced similar struggles to continue their search for answers. In the end, the impact of solving Dawn Olanick's case was a testament to the strength and unity of the community, the relentless pursuit of justice, and the enduring power of hope. It brought a measure of peace to those who had been directly affected and served as a beacon of possibility for others. Dawn's memory, preserved through the collective efforts of her loved ones and the broader community, would continue to inspire and remind them all of the importance of never giving up in the face of adversity. The lessons learned from Dawn Olanick's case carry profound implications for future cold case investigations. One of the most critical takeaways is the importance of preserving evidence meticulously over time. In Dawn's case, the hair sample and other items collected decades ago played a pivotal role once new forensic techniques became available. This emphasizes the need for law enforcement agencies to maintain rigorous standards for evidence preservation, understanding that what might seem insignificant today could be groundbreaking tomorrow. Another crucial lesson is the value of revisiting old cases with fresh eyes and advanced technology. Dawn's case was solved by re-examining evidence using modern DNA sequencing, digital imaging, and forensic genealogy. These advancements were not available during the initial investigation, but they proved instrumental in uncovering new leads. This underscores the necessity for cold case units to stay updated with technological advancements and periodically reassess old evidence as new methods emerge. The collaborative approach taken in Dawn's case also stands out as a model for future investigations. The integration of local detectives, forensic experts, and external agencies like the FBI facilitated a comprehensive analysis from multiple perspectives. Such collaboration enhances the depth and breadth of investigations, pooling resources and expertise to tackle complex cases more effectively. Furthermore, the utilization of public appeals and engagement proved invaluable. Renewed interest in Dawn's case was partly fueled by media coverage and public outreach. Encouraging community involvement and leveraging media platforms can generate new leads and bring forward witnesses who might have been hesitant to come forward initially. This approach can breathe new life into cold cases, turning them into communal quests for justice. The psychological insight provided by profilers and empathetic investigators like Detective Laura Grayson highlighted the importance of understanding the human elements in such cases. Building rapport with witnesses and interpreting behavioral patterns contributed significantly to breaking through long-standing barriers in the investigation. Future cold case investigations can benefit from incorporating psychological expertise to better understand the motives and behaviors of suspects, as well as to connect with witnesses on a deeper level. Lastly, the case demonstrates the enduring power of hope and persistence. Dawn's family and the investigative team never gave up, even when faced with numerous dead ends and setbacks. Their unwavering determination serves as an inspiring example for future investigations, reinforcing the notion that perseverance is vital, no matter how cold the case may seem. In essence, Dawn Olanick's case has set a blueprint for future cold case investigations, highlighting the need for meticulous evidence preservation, the re-examination of old cases with new technology, collaborative efforts, public engagement, psychological insights, and unwavering persistence. These lessons collectively can enhance the effectiveness of solving cold cases, bringing justice and closure to many more families in need. The journey from the mystery of Dawn Olanick's disappearance to the resolution of her cold case is a profound testament to the power of perseverance and the relentless pursuit of justice. For 4 decades, the story of Dawn's disappearance haunted her family, friends, and the entire community. From the initial frantic search efforts on that fateful October night, through years of dogged investigation, each step carried the weight of uncertainty and the hope for answers. The case faced numerous dead ends, false leads, and moments of despair, yet the determination to uncover the truth never wavered. Investigators continuously revisited old evidence, applying groundbreaking forensic techniques that were not available during the original investigation. The perseverance of detectives like Michael Reynolds and Laura Grayson, along with the advances in DNA technology and forensic science, finally uncovered the pivotal clues that led to Richard Hale's arrest. This journey was marked by the tireless efforts of a community united by grief and hope, as they held vigils, raised awareness, and supported Dawn's family through the long years of uncertainty. The relentless search for justice exemplifies the critical role of perseverance in solving cold cases. Every piece of evidence, no matter how small, was preserved and re-examined, transforming past limitations into new opportunities for breakthroughs. The collaborative efforts of local law enforcement, forensic analysts, and external agencies ensured that every lead was pursued and every possibility explored. The eventual resolution of Dawn's case serves as a powerful reminder that even the coldest cases can be solved with unwavering dedication. It highlights the importance of never giving up regardless of the passage of time. The journey from mystery to resolution not only brought a measure of peace to Dawn's family, but also reinforced the significance of hope and tenacity in the face of adversities. As we reflect on this journey, we are reminded that the pursuit of justice is a marathon, not a sprint, and the perseverance of everyone involved ultimately paved the way for the truth to surface. Dawn Olanick's story stands as a beacon of hope for other families still waiting for answers, underscoring that with relentless effort and advancements in technology, even the darkest mysteries can one day be illuminated. The resolution of Dawn Olanick's case undoubtedly brings a sense of closure and justice, illuminating the dark mysteries that once shrouded her disappearance. But it raises a poignant question: can all cold cases be solved with enough time and effort? Dawn's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of perseverance, advanced forensic techniques, and unwavering dedication. Her case was solved through the meticulous re-examination of old evidence and the integration of new technologies. It teaches us that time, while sometimes an enemy, can also be an ally in the pursuit of justice. However, not every case has the same outcomes. Some cases lack the critical evidence that can be revisited. Others may never see the technological advancements needed to crack them wide open. The key lies in the sustained commitment of communities, law enforcement, and forensic experts to continually push the boundaries of what is possible. Dawn's case offers hope and a blueprint for future investigations, demonstrating that with relentless effort, many of these cold cases can find resolution. Yet, it also serves as a sober reminder that each case is unique, and while time and dedication can bring answers, the journey to justice is often fraught with challenges that only determination and innovation can overcome. The lessons learned from Dawn's case should inspire continued efforts to solve the unsolved, remembering that every name on a cold case file represents a life waiting for its story to be told and its truth to be revealed. Justice has finally been served for Dawn Olanick, bringing a profound sense of relief to her long-suffering family. After decades of uncertainty and heartache, the truth has emerged, lighting the way for healing and closure. This resolution is not just the end of a haunting mystery, but a powerful beacon of hope for countless other families still waiting for answers. Dawn's story teaches us the enduring power of perseverance, the relentless pursuit of truth, and the critical role of advanced forensic science. As we reflect on this journey, let Dawn's memory inspire a renewed commitment to uncovering the truth in all unsolved cases, ensuring that no family remains in the shadows of doubt. Remember, each unresolved case still holds the potential for discovery, and with unwavering dedication, we can bring light to the darkest mysteries. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more riveting tales of justice finally being served. Thank you for watching.